So now on Minute Records, at least most of the singles and songs I know from there, I believe aren't you the only woman that's recording regularly and on the label at that point?
I think I was. I didn't know of any other females on the label at that time. To my knowing, I was the only female.
So what was that like to be the singular female in this label?
I didn't have time to think about that because they considered me as one of the guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It really, we had such a community, family-oriented lifestyle back then in terms of learning music and learning songs in Allen's living room that we never thought about it as being a lady among so many guys or anything like that, because I never felt that I needed to be concerned about that. We all had respect for each other's time and space, and we cared about each other getting it right. Those of us who was having a little difficulty learning songs, Allen would pick one of us to sing a line so the other person could get it, understand how they want it done. So we didn't concern ourselves about who was the female and who wasn't. I was just one of the guys.
Well, thankfully for that, because we got some great music from all those sessions. So you've left New Orleans a couple of times because of hurricanes, I understand. Camille?
Yeah. Camille wiped out, in that year, those years leading up to Camille, I had a strong work situation going along the coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And of course, as everyone knows, what Camille did to that coast at that time. So consequently, all of my gigs that I had at that time were canceled because of that. And so I made a very bold move to California.
And you also, at somewhere along the lines in California, you then meet up with Jerry Williams, who some of us know better as Swamp Dogg. What was it like? What was the difference working with him as a producer and Allen as a producer?
Interesting.
Should I leave the stage?
No. Swamp had a very weird way of giving people materials song-wise, and I think I caught him at a time where I guess he assumed that I had some insight on how to sing songs that was bashing men, because I had a song that went over very well in Oakland, California called "If I Had It to Do All Over, I'd Do It All Over You." Big hit in Oakland, California. Then there was another song called "We Won't Be in Your Way Anymore." And then there was one called "In Between Tears." But he unlike Allen, would really sit and just bring us through the songs. He gave me these songs on a cassette, because CD wasn't out then. And he said, take these back to your hotel and learn them and come back and we're gonna do them. Just that simple. And then when we got in the studio, he says, no, I want you to scream a little bit more. I says, I don't scream. He says, oh, I want a little bit more screaming. So he changed the keys. So I had to scream. I didn't have any choice. But of course, since that time, I put him back in a comfortable key for myself. But yeah, that's how he did it. And he got highly upset with me when he came to New Orleans and I didn't recognize him, but I hadn't seen him in 20 years, so I didn't know what he looked like anymore.
So, Allen, now, when you get started and start to roll with these fabulous songs and they become hits, national hits, at that point it seemed like most of it was New Orleans-centric. You were working pretty exclusively with New Orleans artists and people that you knew. But of course, with success comes knocking on the door about, well, this guy down there is writing all these hit songs. Let's send our artists to him, or maybe he'll write some for our artists. How did that change things for you when you start writing, for instance, the Pointer Sisters or LaBelle? I mean, all of a sudden, these are now national acts coming to you.
Well, I didn't change my attitude about it at all. And as far as the Pointer Sisters, I never wrote for them. They covered songs that I wrote, like the Yes We Can and Happiness and Going Down Slowly. I wrote those songs not for them. I never wrote for the Pointer Sisters, but their producer liked a lot of my material, so he would introduce it to them. And I'm so glad that he did, because they did a fine job. I love their whole patina that they had. But I'd just like to clarify that again. I didn't write for the Pointer Sisters, but I'm so glad that the producer heard it and thought it was conducive to their history, and that's how that happened. And well, it's many companies began to send artists down because of, like I say, there's
success.
some action is going on. So let's see what we could do there. And but for as me, I just was always the same as I was before, and they would join that rather than for me to necessarily change my attitude about other things.
So now we're running, I noticed that we're running out of time to some degree, so I want to jump around here a little. First of all, with you, Irma, I found this quote by you that you said a number of years ago. I'm sure you love this idea that your past coming back to haunt you, but it's not bad. When I'm 60, you know what I really like to do? I'd like to think I'm still worthwhile enough for some fancy hotel to hire me to sing in their cocktail lounge. Can't you just picture me with some gray-haired man playing piano with me singing, "It's Raining"?
Ironically enough, I said that, yes, I did say that. I don't remember verbatim as you did, but I did say that. And ironically, it's still an ambition of mine. I'm at the stage in my life where I still love to sing, but because of certain things that have happened to us here in America, I don't enjoy the travel part of it anymore. So I would love to be in some lounge or a club on a regular basis, doing what I love to do on a regular basis, and let them come to me. I mean,
Careful what you wish for.
Well,
Here I am.
yeah, a gray hair and all, huh? But, that I still enjoy and I love singing. I would love, touring for the world and what have you, but because of the situations with going through airports and what have you, I don't enjoy that aspect of it, but I don't think I'll ever not want to sing.
Right.
I get too much fun out of it. I mean, I don't know too many entertainers who do what I do. I'm kind of bold about that. I request from the audience, and I'm bold enough to say, well, look, I don't know that, but I'll try something else for you, because I believe that it's entertaining. I've seen instances where people spent big money to go see an act and never heard their favorite song. So I eliminated that possibility by allowing them to tell me what it is they wanted to hear.
And you have that wonderful songbook with you now. So
Well, no, it's my iPad.
your iPad that has all.
Well, when you've recorded as long as I've been recording, I'm sure Allen probably has run into that situation now that he's a traveling artist. Some songs you remember the melodies, but not necessarily all the lyrics. So I admit to folk that no, I don't remember everything I've ever recorded. And yes, I'll do it for you, but I have to find it in my iPad, and here it is, and we'll do it. And I don't always put that burden on my guys to remember, because I have songs that they've never heard. So if someone asks me for a song that I haven't done in a while and I have the lyrics in the iPad, I do it a cappella.
Sure.
Because that's how I auditioned to get in the record company anyway.
So now, Alan, I have a quote for you that I read that you had given a few years ago, and so I'm going to read that for you too. I think this is about working with somebody to produce yourself as opposed to you being your own producer. And it was, as an artist, I don't know just who I am. I really don't know what people expect from Allen Toussaint, the performer. That's why I have to say I prefer someone else to produce my records. They can see things more objectively. Do you no longer know? Is it still true that you don't know who you are as a performer?
Of course, I don't. I always feel like a chameleon because whoever I'm producing at the time and writing for, the way this is all going to come out, like I said, the reason why there is an It's Raining and those things is because of Irma. So that's Irma's day, and it's Lee Dorsey tomorrow working in the coal mine, not for Irma. But, and after that, it's Aaron Neville. So out of all of that, then they say, so you record. Well, I haven't been working on me, or I haven't auditioned for me. to say which me. Am I a fly guy? Am I going to sing romantic songs, comic songs? Because I don't give off my own persona or patina to say which one of those things I am. And so I still haven't come to terms with that. The closest I've ever come to something that was somewhere near what might be me is the album Southern Night. And it's those things that, and if you listen to that, those songs doesn't sound like they would be written for anyone else, but I'm so glad that Jim Webb told Glenn Campbell to get Southern Night and record it.
If I could, Alan, I would say that when I think of who you might be, there's these series of commercials that have now shown up for Dos Equis, I think it is, where it's the world's most interesting man. I do believe they modeled that character after you. At least that's the way I see it.
Well, maybe you could produce me next.
I'd be way too intimidated. Is there anything left that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet, Alan?
Yes, work with Irma again.
Well, I'm going to ask you the same question, Irma.
Well, yeah, I'm still here. I'd love to finish a book I started 12 or 13 years ago that I haven't taken the time to concentrate on doing. There's a reason for that, and I haven't discovered what it is, because every time I start to write, to sit down to put to pen my life story, something always distracts me, and I'm easily distracted from that, when normally I'm not easily distracted from anything. But for some reason, this book is just not coming just yet. So I'm hoping one day, if it's for me to get the book written, it will get written. If it's not, then I won't worry about it. But that's basically what I'm after.
Alan, I had a few years ago on Broadway, they did this, they put the show together of songs of Lieber and Stoller. And it was basically their songbook with some dance or whatever around. Have you ever thought of putting together the same kind of show, but with your songbook?
No. Again, that would be thinking about me. I don't spend much time thinking of me personally. So, no, I haven't.
Well, technically, some of his songs will be in a play coming up the first 2 weekends of November. I'm doing a play called Simply Irma, which I did 16 years ago when I was 16 years younger. And we're updating it, and I am doing 50% of the show is Alan stuff that he wrote for me back in the 60s.
Oh, thank
Those are my bread and butter songs. You have to do those.
you. The impact of Katrina, both on your life and on New Orleans, as you see it, Irma.
Well, I was never one who was stuck on stuff, but I learned that stuff is just stuff. People are more important, so it made me more wanting to be more of an open person, to communicate with my audience more than I have been, and choosing songs to lift people up, because I've been told many times that your song got me through this situation, or that song got me through that situation. So I'm more people-oriented now than I ever was, and my husband say, I don't know what I'm gonna do about you, because you talk to anybody and everybody. And I do it all during the show, but and then I've gotten more onto my gospel set. It was Quint Davis's idea to have a gospel set after Katrina at the Jazz and Heritage Festival, and I'm learning more about the spiritual side of me daily. Not that I didn't know some, but I'm getting more and more into it, and I'm finding that people are beginning to see what I feel.
And Alan, I'm going to ask you the same thing, but I wanted to drop back to one other thing. After Fest passed, he had always closed Jazz Fest. Mm-hmm. And I guess he passed in April, I think it was, and Jazz Fest was in May that year. And you were asked to be the person to assume that role and close Jazz Fest. What was that like for you, that when you came out there and the stage?
It was huge. It was huge. Festival Longhair was just everything to us. Many of us, the pianists especially, Fess is and we are the disciples. And so that was really broad, and I dearly appreciated that. And it was very spiritual feeling. I dearly loved Fess and love him now.
And so now follow up, what has Katrina done to you and the way you see it?
Well, Katrina was many different things. For one thing, Katrina was quite a booking agent. You know, as I've said, more musicians were working, sidemen and all, after Katrina because martial law, we had to leave town, whether we wanted to or not, because I lived through all the hurricanes. I wasn't about to leave. I have, my boards that I put on my windows have numbers on them for the next hurricanes. I know where board number 1, board number 2 go over this window. So I thought I knew hurricanes fairly well. But since we had to leave, and everyone had to leave, proprietors in other cities would get to know that there's a New Orleans musician living right down the street. You don't have to fly him in, put him in a hotel. And I mean, just about every musician in New Orleans was somewhere working. So that was quite a blessing.
Yes.
And I call Katrina sort of not a drowning, but a baptism,
Yeah.
so to speak. And it brought me in communication with many folk that I may have not met. It brought the kind of attention to New Orleans that I can't think of anything else that could have. People who never gave New Orleans a thought, now they were inundated with New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. So there were so many wonderful things that sort of overshadowed, except people who lost loved ones
Yeah.
and people. That is major.
Yes.
But like Irma said, things are things. When I finally was able to go back, because I migrated to New York, I was standing outside before I left New Orleans 4 days afterwards when they said we had to leave, waiting for buses to pick us up. And I thought I'd go to Vegas and hang out with some shows until I figured this all out. My partner called from New York and said, you have to migrate somewhere, and you have friends here, come here. So I went to New York, and I collaborated with Elvis Costello, loads of wonderful people, and everyone, Steve Winwood, Woody Allen, everyone just said yes to New Orleans. So I began to, this is some of the aftermath of Katrina going on right here, because I know I wouldn't be on this stage if Katrina that booking agent hadn't come through. But, and when I did go back and saw the studio, it was a big gray mass. You couldn't tell the white keys from the black. Just everything was big gray. It looked like styrofoam, some kind of insulation foam was shot over everything. And it was almost comical, but it was kind of pretty in a way. But I remember thinking, everything here has served me very well till this day, so I can say goodbye with a pleasure and start afresh. And I was up for the task, and I'm glad to say New Orleans was up for it. And we got right to work on billing and rebilling, and I feel very good about it now. Katrina helped us out a lot, because we were pretty complacent in New Orleans. We were moseying on. We were pretty comfortable with whatever it was. This wasn't up to whatever standards some might want, but we are relishing in this. But some things needed to be done for many, many years. Well, Katrina said, now
Is
you
the
don't
time.
only want to, you have
Have
to.
to.
So we got to work on it, and Katrina has been now a wonderful episode in my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, Allen Toussaint and Irma Thomas. Thank you.
Isn't she lovely? How many ever been to New Orleans? Mr. Mardi Gras, Mr. Mardi Gras. Everybody knows Mr. Mardi Gras. Mr. Mardi Gras, Mr. Mardi Gras. Everybody knows Mr. Mardi Gras. Throw me something, mister, throw me something, please. Or where the big chiefs say, Hiko Hande, Shaka Paka Chapaka, shall we? In the land of the kings and queens, where fun is supreme. Or where the big float roll right through your soul, down yonder in New Orleans. We got to keep them big boat rolling, keep them big boat rolling.